Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tarnished Bronze, where we're delving into the denizens of the Bronze Age. And today we've got the third of the Justice League of America's Detroit special starring Steel. And what does Steel do? He looks for threats to flatten. Now, Patrick, still more lifting of the cubes on the cover here.
I was just gonna say, it does look kind of like a cube, but it may be a rectangular prism, to be fair. Also, one thing I noticed when I read this is look at the title, Heavy Metal. We've been
Oh,
here before.
yeah, we love heavy metal on this channel. You can listen to our Avengers heavy metal spotlight over three great episodes. If you delve into our videos on our channel and our playlist. Now, Patrick, just another comment about this rectangular prism. This is a very poor way to lift a massive rectangular prism by holding the outside of it from one end. So steel has to just have the strength of perhaps a Gilgamesh in order to lift this.
He has to use his core, I think, a lot more from that angle. I can't remember from putting the covers together why why he's so much on the end of the prism. So I love the look of fastball though. I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing MLBers with this exoskeleton. I know you're really fond of exoskeletons, especially when they're worn by medieval crusaders.
Yep, yep,
Um, I like the helmet. He's very highlight.
yep.
He still have highlight.
I'm actually loving the fact that he's got a nice little pouch on his pouches and then a pouch bag combo on his so he can have all those baseballs that he likes to throw. Great stuff. And why the pitcher is wearing a helmet is beyond me.
Well, I mean, in case somebody throws it back, I guess.
So
One thing I have noticed is they're getting Steele's coloring right in these regular episodes. I don't know if you remember, but that was a little bit of a pet peeve in one of the few things in the annual that I didn't like is he would have random yellow panels in his costume, which was kind of strange. But yeah, they're getting his coloring right now.
yeah, that seems to be pretty good. And so the only difference in this issue is that we have a different inker, and this inker is going to go on to work a lot on the amazing, on the amazing Spider-Man down the pike with one of my favorites, Eric Larson, and you can see a whole bunch of Eric Larson videos on the channel as well. So it's all linked. And the famous heavy metal, it's almost the same font, Patrick. I'm just shocked
Hmm
that if it's not the same letterer doing this. But
I
this
mean,
is
the
for
80s was the time of heavy metal. What's your favorite heavy metal band?
Iron Maiden.
Oh, okay. For some reason, that seems very Aussie of you. I was not really into hair metal at the time. Usually the songs that I would like would be their one or two ballads.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe I'd say Metallica.
Okay. So in the battle between Metallica and Megadeth, I am Megadeth all the way, sir. So
Oh,
that's it for this channel. I'm done.
turn out the lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting note, shout out to the class of 92. I don't know if that's doxing myself or dating myself or both.
Yeah.
But that was our entry music to Homecoming was Enter Sandman. So yeah, shout out to the class of 92.
Yeah, and shout out to this double page spread.
Yeah.
Um, Superb.
Love Gypsy on the side.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it's got everything that you need, and it's got some really bizarre tiling pattern on the floor for that are all very strange. But I can survive that because there's great tech. All the characters are there, even Gypsy, and I love that sort of having her power be the thing that is always on display because we just for people who don't know, Gypsy is kind of ethereal. She's like Gossamer in our storyline so far. We don't really know what her deal is, and so that makes her even more mysterious. And I'm not sure, is this picture in the monitor, is that a thing that has been in another issue, Patrick, or is that like drawn for today?
I think so Vixen has broken into the Detroit jail to try to get information from the Red Dawn members, I guess, to get information on her uncle Mac's side, right? So I think this is what's happening concurrently. Now, our previous issue maybe ended with her breaking in, but I don't think that this is a copy. I could be wrong. In fact, I have it right here. Let me just take a quick glance of what, because if you remember, the last one ended with, okay, here we go. The last one ended with a sneak peek of Crisis, and actually, we see Gypsy sort of rip the wall of the. She maybe a little bit overpowered in the previous issue, but she tears the wall off the side of the jail, and then we just see her flee from the jail. So we don't
Okay,
actually see what happens inside, but this is obviously referencing back to the previous issue, and we see what she actually did, which is break into the jail, assault some police officers, and attempt to get some information from the guys that she had sort of put there, that she knows work from Maxi.
okay. Yeah, so we're just getting callbacks now. If that was all like gibberish, you can watch our last episode on issue 234.
How
But
dare
yeah,
you? Now, the thing
what is
is, her
Conway
breaking
doing?
into this jail has caused a furor at JLA headquarters, because obviously this isn't how the JLA operates, especially back in the day. But this is a new dawn for the JLA. Aquaman is beside himself. Of course, we've had this set up with him and Steel butting heads. So Steel very much disagrees with Aquaman's leadership on this. And I don't know if you've scanned this, but one thing that was really exciting, I referenced it, I think, in the annual, but Aquaman has gotten some power upgrades. And one of them is that he's able to use his telepathy on people
Yeah,
in a limited sense. Now, he's not a Saturn girl, he's not a Charles Xavier, he's not, Marvel girl, but he's able to use his telepathy in rudimentary ways with humans, and he kind of calms Steel down. And Martian Manhunter, you can see, has noticed. And the artwork in doing this, showing that he's the one that notices, fascinating. Being a kid, I do think that I must have had this issue because I feel like by the time I would have filled in the blanks, I wouldn't have been as intrigued by it. But I remember being very excited by the fact that Aquaman, it only makes sense to me that if he has telepathy to communicate with animals, he should be able to do something with humans who have a higher, maybe not control them, but at least be able to, tweak them a little bit. So I can't
is,
remember if we get back to this. I think we probably do.
is this still in canon? Does he? I know he can talk to fish because of all of the memes that I see online, but is
I
this still
don't
a?
know. I
Yeah,
don't know. Probably not. Honestly, probably not. I can't see him just being a normal telepath, but I mean, why not? Give the guy a break.
yeah. I mean, he is known to more because he doesn't quite have the swimsuit to pull it off. But I mean, he's got to have something that elevates him above the first Avenger or the first mutant. Um, Another page that I've scanned upside down for reasons that escape me, but makes it even better. So my only comment that I have here, you've got to forgive me, it was late at night when I was scanning these in. My one comment that I have the for this page is why not just use a rifle?
You say a rifle?
Yeah, like
Well, I think it's his background, right? He's a baseball player that they've sort of recruited into the cadre. So this is Steel and Gypsy just by chance. Steel gets pissed off as he does with Aquaman, and I think probably after being assuaged by him, storms out. He runs into Gypsy, and then they're confronted by Fastball, who appears out of nowhere. Fastball is defeated and disappears, as does Gypsy. But I got the impression that he's sort of maybe a former or frustrated baseball player. Maybe if we had this origin fleshed out more, maybe he would have been a baseball player who was busted and banned for performance enhancing drugs. I don't know that that happens in baseball, right? Or at least at this time in history. But that would have been an interesting, then he's disgruntled and he becomes a villain. I don't know that that's necessarily the case, and I just made it up. That's my head canon. Is that what that's what they call it?
Okay,
Oh,
so
here we go.
now we can. It is a great panel, Patrick. I just put this in there because what are your thoughts on gimmick villains? We know that you love Kite Man because so good, but thoughts on gimmick villains in two sentences or less.
I'm okay with it. I actually think it's interesting if they're designed well and it's sort of an interesting power, which in this case I think it is. He could have all kinds of sort of gimmicky balls. That sounds bad. Sorry. Why is it always me?
Yeah,
Um, but I love his costume. I like the helmet. I like it all.
yeah, I'm all for it. My favorite villain is Clock King. Yeah, just the more uh
Not Calendar Man,
the more totally asinine, the better. Um,
Calculator.
yeah, actually, to be honest, it's probably my favorite villain of all time would be the Scarlet Skier,
Ooh.
which is a deep cut, and we're going to have to do a Scarlet Skier special on Tarnished Bronze at some point. But yeah, I'm all for it. I really like his. Uh, not every. Okay, my other comment is
Is
that
that a
sort of
new
catches.
god? Or am I getting him mixed up with the Black Racer? Isn't there a new god that has skis?
Scarlet Skier is sort of a you have to see it to behold it, but it's kind of like a water ski thing that he goes behind in space. So it's basically an excuse to people just to draw really like prog rock spacescapes and not have
Okay.
to be in Silver Surfer. Really good. Patrick, does this guy? He's got he's got balls, he's got pouches, he's got a belt, and he has a boxing glove, but just a singular boxing glove because
It's a
that's not a
I,
mitt.
I think it's a mitt. I think we're gonna call it a mitt. It doesn't have the webbing. I think we're gonna call it a mitt. He also has I think he's got chaw, as we say in the South. I think he's got some tobacco in his look at his cheek there.
Oh, okay, I just thought he was a wholesome sort of fellow, but obviously not.
That's kind of a baseball thing. He's gonna
Oh,
spit
okay,
spit his tobacco juice and then pummel you with his balls.
yeah, it's just talking about gimmick villains. We've just made like a HBO level show. It's going to be called Pummeled by Balls, the Fastball Special. Yeah, James Gunn, you know where to find us. Tarnished Bronze. You heard it here first.
Fastball special too, right? The Wolverine Colossus thing.
It's
I've torn myself up with these. The jokes write themselves, folks.
yeah, and what should we see yet again in an issue of the Justice League of America? But Patrick, you tell us. And this
Yeah,
is exquisitely drawn rubble, might I add, but nonetheless.
the ground is being ripped up and used as a weapon. I mean, if it's not Vibe, if it's not Zatanna, now it's Steel. It's really again, it's a bit of a retread there. I mean, I get it. Honestly, in this instance, I'm not so upset with it. Um, when Zatanna's doing it and she can basically do anything, then I kind of have a problem. I feel like Vibe's powers are a little bit more versatile, that he could be used in some more interesting ways. Here, I'm kind of okay with it.
Can he
I do think
vibrate?
it's a little bit. Oh, go ahead.
Vibe should be able to vibrate his way to flight, I reckon.
Yeah, why not? I have a little bit of an issue with him throwing the rectangular prism on top of the villain with a chod. Uh,
I might call
Maybe
that
that
a
wouldn't kill him,
chode.
but
I might call that sound effect chode, Patrick, and then we'll
I
be
think
in
it
real
needs the
trouble.
two O's. You've mistaken the first D for an O,
Okay.
but we'll call it chode. But since it is fastball and all. So yeah, the balls are getting crushed by the chode, and I mean, wouldn't that flatten him? How heavy is that? He
Yeah,
doesn't know this guy's
I think
invulnerable.
fastball is dead unless the Beyonder or whoever the hell has been assembling,
Overmaster.
yeah, the Overmaster, which sounds very fascist. Like we've gone from one extreme, the Red Dawn, to now this fascist future of over controller or whatever his name is. And if I was trying to impress someone with my overall good-natured self, probably don't throw a massive hunk of flooring or road onto their head. And then Gypsy's just there in the background watching this erstwhile hero Steel just chode some rectangular rubble onto this poor fella.
She's interested though, right? They're facing mortal danger and she's checking him out. So I mean, that's a girl after my own heart there.
Yeah, that's yeah. So I did think that some of these like this issue is actually pretty exciting. It starts off well, like getting into some really cool stuff. But once again, some of the just day-to-day comic book decisions are sort of a bit out there, Patrick. And now we get into the B or C or D plot here.
Yeah. So many. So Vixen's traveled to New York City to fight Maxai. That I guess she found out where he was from the criminals in the Detroit jail. And it doesn't really go super well for her.
This is
And
their first on-screen or on-page meeting, might I add, in the comic. They've obviously maybe encountered each other before, but this is uh, at least a taster in the comic of their first on-screen debut.
he's hugging her. He's pulling her hair and hugging her to death. And I think she gets shot. But the Justice League has followed her to the Big Apple and they save her just in time. But right around that time, the police show up to apprehend the JLA because they've gone outside the bounds of the law, even though they are the good guys.
Yeah, it that's so they had that big discussion in the last issue about should they, shouldn't they? And then I think in order to not make Vixen do some sort of thing that she will get into a lot more trouble than just a stern telling off from Aquaman, um, they're sort of trying to stop her, but the ship might have sailed. And Steel and Vibe, are they still looking out for Gypsy, or are they doing something totally separate?
I don't think Gypsy has. I don't think Gypsy accompanying them to New York because
Okay.
she's still sort of lurking in the background. So I think
Okay.
she just when they defeat Fastball or when Steel defeats Fastball, Fastball disappears. When they lift up the rectangular prism of roadway, he's
Okay.
not there, and Gypsy has sort of flown the coop as well. So she's just popping in and out. They go to New York. Instead of being arrested for breaking into this embassy or what have you of Mchanga, Maxai comes out and vouches for the JLA, and that's when Paco, with his sort of street pass with the gangs, says, "By the way, the reason that he wants the police not to take us to jail is because he wants us for himself. He's going to try to keep us out and in the good graces of the cops, so that he can take his revenge on us." However, as fate would have it, this police chief from New York City actually already knows that Vixen's wanted for breaking into the Detroit jail. This is in the mid 80s, so I don't really know exactly how this communication has gone on. And he wants to arrest Vixen for that. But to the surprise of Steel and everyone else, Aquaman, who has been the straight and narrow, we're abiding by the law and, I'm going to be a hard ass with my team members. He vouches for Vixen and he sort of goes against the New York police chief and says, forget about it. We're not giving up our member and we're going home. And they hop in their Quinjet style transport and fly back home.
The Starmobile. Maybe he's just a big fan of the Pistons, and he wants the Dennis Rodman, Isaiah Thomas, bad boy, Detroit basketball team to just be in the Ascension. Yeah, just some. some good, and in that bottom left hand corner you can just see the you were just talking about how Vibe is like that guy wants this for himself. You can just see that's really conveying some deep seated contempt,
Yeah.
Patrick, this panel. I thought that was really good stuff. And then in the background, we also see this tender moment between Martian Manhunter and Vixen. For someone who's so Vixen is just a really sort of butch character, aside from being a model and so on and so forth. But she's been portrayed so far as like this very, I don't know what the female word of macho is, but or man of action. She's a woman of action. Just someone comforting her for a change is just a nice little change up. Once again, we have angry Aquaman as a meme.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think, well, in this case, the tables have turned a bit, right? So Aquaman has actually done what Steel would normally think is the right thing,
yeah.
right? He's taken up for his teammate, but he's really put the team on the line. I mean, the Justice League is not the X-Men; they're more the Avengers, and they don't need to be chased down by the cops and put in the role of adversarial to law and order. That's
Indeed, at the start, the United Nations gave them a forum, right? And that's where they disbanded and re-established the team, I think. So yeah, that's
Exactly. And so he's really against his maybe better judgment, and Steel still is running his mouth. And at this point, Aquaman is maybe a little bit in the right, and I actually love this. Sit down and shut up. He's kind of had it at this point. He's been forced into the corner where he's actually done something that's against his instincts, but was probably the right thing to do in the moment. But it's really put the team in a weird spot. Um, and Zatanna explains it to him. Now, this is the moment where on the flight home, Steele explains to Zatanna how his grandfather has turned him into a cyborg without his consent. And so we're getting some more information about Steele's background and why he's such an angry young man. Um, I think it's interesting because this is Steele's spotlight issue. And we get action from Steel when he's fighting fastball, and we do get a little bit at the end of his origin, but he's not so much highlighted like Vibe and Vixen were in their stories.
no, we're still dealing a lot with this great Vixen story, might I add. It's full of complications and stuff. But Steele's backstory, which is tragic, might I add, is kind of like Cyborg, the character gone wrong.
Hmm.
Like in Cyborg, the character is kind of like, oh, as a last resort, we're doing this. And then Steele's grandfather, who may be a member of the Justice Society of America or the All Star Squadron, I can't quite remember, is like, no, this is my desired outcome. What other people took as a warning, I took as a set of guidelines. And
Just
that's kind of
talk
really
about
tragic. And
living your dreams through your child,
yeah, yeah.
right? He's the ultimate stage mom.
I do love this link between Steele and Zatanna, and I meant the link not in sort of a romantic sentiment, but just I hope that he has her as a sounding board as this story goes on, because she's someone who seems a bit less rigid in their worldview, whereas Aquaman right now, as he's portrayed, seems a bit rigid in his worldview. And I think John Johns for Steele is almost an ethereal character because he's literally an alien. I'm not sure that he has that relationship with John Johns that he maybe does with Satana.
By the way, I just noticed it's so funny that I mentioned the random yellow panels on Steel, and they've done it again in that middle row there.
Yeah, that doesn't look like miscoloring to me. It looks like they wanted that to be yellow for
Yeah,
reasons
but
of.
he's only red, white, and blue. He doesn't have yellow.
Oh no, that's what I mean. Like it doesn't seem
Oh,
like a mistake on the page. It seems like a
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
They've mistaken what his yeah. I mean, just saying, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but it happened multiple panels in the annual, so it was definitely something I noticed. Just to wrap up this one, as the team is flying home, their entire transport is teleported by the Overmaster, presumably the creator of the cadre, to places unknown, and we're left with a cliffhanger.
So this is sort of infuriating. This cadre is like the ultimate plot device. It just comes out of nowhere. I don't mind Fastball being a member of the cadre. I don't mind them turning that gang leader into a member, Crossbones into a member of the cadre. I just do mind that the cadre is so powerful now that they can just take a star jet and just magically make it appear somewhere else. Like, why wouldn't you have done that at the start rather than and
Teleport them to the bottom of the ocean
so
or to the
so my
sun,
other
right?
thing, Patrick, is did Nicole Kidman teach Aquaman better? Like, I'm very worried about his maternal and paternal influences now. As far as I can tell, everyone knows that Nicole Kidman is Aquaman's mum, and she should have imparted some better lessons on him, Patrick. Like, he seems to be
We've
going from
learned.
pillar to post. He can't do right for doing wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like we're starting to see the growth, right? So here he's sort of broken out of his rigidness because he's been forced to by these young, ju new Justice League members who are a little bit reckless in their behavior. I mean, a little bit reckless, a lot reckless. Like honestly, Vixen's not. She's presumably in her early 30s. I mean, she's been a model. She's been around the block. This is not her first. I'm not gonna say rodeo. It's not her first appearance, right? She is not a super established character, but she's not a new character in the DC universe. So the fact that she has joined the Justice League of her own accord, and then John Jones tries to talk to her, and instead of speaking with him, she just goes and busts into jail by ripping the wall off the jail, and then goes to New York City to fight this guy, and it doesn't go well. And she has powers. He doesn't even have powers, I don't think, because he wants the Tantu totem for himself. She kind of gets her ass kicked and gets shot, and then they come and rescue her. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of with Aquaman on at this point. I mean, before maybe he's being a little bit overbearing, but I do feel like they're kind of showing him come around. But they're
Okay,
putting
and
him in
so
some very
yeah,
difficult situations.
I do have a note here. The dialogue is less off-putting and jarring, and so I think they've settled into a better um, clarity of what the characters are doing and what they mean. So Patrick, where are you putting this one?
Oh God.
This is a mixed bag for me. Like,
Yeah, I love the appearance of Fastball. We've got some action with Vixen kind of going off on her own. Um, I think maybe just above 234.
okay, so yeah, I think the Vixen special had better ingredients, but the execution wasn't quite as good. And indeed, the Vixen execution here in that first splash page is out like that. This could have been the Vixen one, to be honest.
Yeah, I do think Steel gets the short shrift a bit. And if I recall, and no spoilers, but the next one, the only one left is Gypsy. And I feel like she might get a little bit of a short shrift, but she's also the mystery. So we've got to keep some mystery going forward. We can't give the store away. But we'll talk about that more in that episode.
All right, so you can stay tuned for Tarnished Bronze. We will have the conclusion of the origins of Justice League Detroit out for you very shortly. And Patrick, it's always a pleasure. And listeners, like, follow, subscribe, and we will see you